It's February 2024. It's been 6 months since my last YouTube video, and there have been some life changes. Maybe not drastic for other people, but it's been very drastic for me. I am now fully employed, a full-time employee. Well, actually I'm a contract worker, but I work full-time. So if you follow me on any of my other social media, primarily on Facebook, I am working for an agency known as With Many Hands as a community organizer. I started this position in August, and July was the last YouTube video that I did. I started working part-time in August, and then in January of 2024 I started working full-time. So it's been about 2 months that I've been working these 40-hour weeks. It's been a journey. It's been really interesting. It's been great, but it's been a huge change. And so there have been times where I didn't feel like I had the capacity to even do a once-a-month YouTube video. But looking back at some of my previous videos, I realized that if for no other reason, I like having my YouTube garden archive so that I can go back and look on it. It acts as my garden journal. And then at the same time, I know that there's people out there that are following our garden journey and want to see how the garden is doing. So today, I feel like I can get it done. I also want to say that we're checking out the front yard garden today. So getting back into the swing of things, I'm going to try to do 2 YouTube videos per month. So for the last like 2 years, I've been doing 1 video per month because that's what I felt like I had the capacity for. And here I am coming back after a 6-month break, really trying to go all in with 2 videos per month. So I just realized last year that as we were working on this front yard garden, I didn't have as much picture and video documentation as I would have liked. So yeah, I want to try to showcase the front yard garden once a month and then the backyard garden once a month. And if I feel like I can do more, then so be it. So yeah, just prefacing this video with the fact that we're in the front yard because our street can kind of be busy, and even though it's a Sunday afternoon, there'll probably still be plenty of cars driving by. So let's take a tour. Here is a full view of what the front yard garden is looking like. We still haven't finished that 3rd portion of the garden. So we have these first 4 beds that are more horizontal or perpendicular to the street. Then we have those 4 square beds. And I think in that final section, that 3rd section down there where that landscape fabric is, we were thinking about doing raised beds, but the plan might change. We were hoping to have it finished already, but it'll get done this year. It will definitely get done this year. But we'll start right up here where we have our daffodils in this upper raised bed. So we'll come in close because there's also some seedlings growing here in this area. Okay, so I came down to this lower portion of the garden to give this point of view. This, I think, is the 2nd year for these daffodils, I do believe. This is year number 2. And they are growing nicely. Some of them have already have their flower buds here that are starting to come up. But we have tons and tons of hollyhock seedlings that have found their way into this upper bed. And then we have some volunteer sunflowers. I did have sunflowers here last year. These are a couple ranunculus here at the front. I can't remember what color they are. And then I accidentally planted this ranunculus like super close to this daffodil. But we just have a few here. These were some extras that didn't fit in another bed that I was trying to put them in. So more daffodils and some sunflower volunteers. I'm actually really excited to show this portion of the garden once it's blooming. I do plan on harvesting most of these daffodils for flower arrangements, so we won't get to see the daffodils bloomed out, but I think the ranunculus will look pretty here. This area is mulched with shredded paper, shredded cardboard, and dry leaves. It's been today's like day 4 since it was last watered, and it's still nice and cool here underneath these few inches of mulch. Okay, going this way. Now it sounds like someone's decided to do yard work. These are pink hollyhocks. They actually started to bloom way early, and then we had a frost, and it killed back the bloom stalks. So we'll see if it throws any more bloom stalks this season or not. It was just a really mild winter, so they decided to wake up a little bit too soon, and then we got a cold snap. But the hollyhock, I think this is year 3 for these hollyhocks. I'm pretty sure. The cool thing that I recently discovered is that rabbits can eat hollyhocks. Like, they can eat the whole plant, the foliage, the flowers. This is going to be a good forage crop for our meat rabbits. And then continuing on into this first bed, these are Shasta daisies right here that just need to be cleaned up just a little bit. They have some winter damaged foliage that can be pulled off, but they're coming back pretty nicely. Here are the snapdragons. I'm so glad a couple of them survived this past year. I pulled out at least 3 or 4 of them. So this area all over here was snapdragons previously, but I put some ranunculus here. So we will get to see those bloom out. I can't remember what color they are, but I think I had ordered pink, white, and yellow. So it'll be one of those 3. This is my first year growing ranunculus up here in the front yard garden, and it seems to be doing really well. I also have some planted in the back, and these ones seem to be growing more foliage than the ones in the back so far. Okay, we'll just flip around and take a look at this side. I'm going to move so that my shadow is not in the frame. Okay, this is bed number 2. These are snap peas growing along this trellis. I planted these 4 inches apart, and I did it as a double row. So there's some snap peas planted on this side of the trellis, and there's more snap peas planted on the other side. So it's a double row planted on both sides of the trellis, and I put 2 to 3 peas per hole and spaced them 4 inches apart. And then right here are more daffodils. What I'm going to do probably tomorrow is come through and pull back all of this mulch. We have a bunch of volunteer lettuce that came up in the backyard, so I'm probably just going to transplant the little lettuce seedlings here in between the daffodils, and then they'll act as a living mulch, and they'll also give me a crop of lettuce. On the other side are ranunculus, and we can take a closer look at those. I just noticed this here in the pathway. Bunches of sunflower volunteers that have just sprouted. So I had some volunteer sunflowers and a volunteer sunflower in this bed, and then I had a volunteer sunflower over there in that bed, and it looks like they dropped a good amount of seeds here in the pathway. I'm actually gonna just let these grow for a little bit. Whichever ones survive me walking back and forth, I'll just let them grow, and then probably when they get about 2 to 3 leaf sets, I'll probably dig them up and transplant them at one of our community garden sites. But yeah, I'll probably let those sunflowers grow for a while because rabbits can also eat sunflowers. So another good forage crop for our meat rabbits. This is a closer look at the ranunculus. I planted these 4 inches apart in staggered spacing. I can't remember what color these are either. So it'll be a surprise to you and it'll be a surprise to me. But I planted them all the way down this bed, and here's what the other side of the peas look like on this trellis. And then right across we have more snap peas. This succession I actually started a few weeks before this one, but this one seems like it's starting to catch up with this one. So I want to say it was maybe 2 to 3 weeks difference from the start of this one to the other one. And at this point, they look about similar size. I can't remember what I have planted here, if I have anything planted here. I think I might be reserving this space for tomatoes, which is why I didn't put anything here. But I'm not 100% sure. For now, it's empty. I might start green beans there. On this side of the sweet peas, I'm sorry, these are sugar snap peas. On this side of the sugar snap peas, I know that there are lilies planted here. I cannot remember 100% if there's any there, but I know that there's some underneath here. And they won't break the surface for another month or so. So I seeded some extra dwarf bok choy along here, and I did like 2 to 3 seeds and spaced them out at 4-inch spacing. So you can see they're just starting to come up. But yeah, I have extra dwarf bok choy here at 4-inch spacing all the way down. Honestly, I think I could have spaced them closer together. So you can see here's a few, there's like 4 seedlings. No, there's like 3 seedlings that came up here. There's 2 seedlings that came up here. And this is the 4-inch spacing. Actually, this might be the perfect spacing for them. We'll see how they do. Okay, and we are on to bed number 4. Here on this side, we have more daffodils and more daffodils on the other side. These were some lettuces that volunteered last year, and this one is starting to go to seed. This variety is Black Seeded Simpson. I will be saving seed for this, and I'll probably just kind of broadcast sow it. We actually didn't really harvest. We harvested a little bit off of this, but not a whole lot. But I did want to just let it grow so I could get the seed from it. It seems to be a pretty hardy seed. And then I guess this is some type of, this actually might be the Black Seeded Simpson also. So I think this is a bib lettuce. I think that's what this ruffly edge lettuce is called. Here along this trellis, these are sweet peas. The flowers, not the edible peas. So these are not edible. I'm growing them for cut flower arrangement, for beauty, and for their lovely scent. I started way later than I typically do. I've been growing sweet peas for a few years now, and I just like them to be a staple in my spring garden. They're just really lovely to look at, and they have a wonderful scent. So I almost did not grow sweet peas this year, and then they are a staple in my garden, so I was gonna miss them too much. So I did get some transplants in the ground previously. I want to say it was probably October, but then they started to get a lot of really bad cold damage, and I wasn't sure if they were gonna make it through. So then I direct seeded some sweet peas. They came up nicely. So the sweet peas came up nicely, and we'll see when they bloom this year. They're usually an early bloomer for me, but I usually get them in the fall. And so since I started them later this year, we'll see if they end up blooming later or not. Let's take a look at this far corner. These are some romaine lettuces here on this edge. They probably need to be fertilized at this point. And maybe thinned. I did like 3 or 4 seeds at each point, and these are spaced about 4 to 5 inches apart. And then we have another lettuce here. I think this one actually, did I put that there or is that a volunteer? I think I did seed this here. Then we have the daffodils coming up on this side. And there's a volunteer hollyhock on the other side of this daffodil. And we're on to the square beds. This one is kind of a hodgepodge of a bunch of different things. There's some hollyhocks here that I just broadcast. I sowed them, I broadcast sowed them whenever the other hollyhocks went to seed. There's like 3 snapdragons over there. And then I did plant tulips over here, but they're not up yet. So I am eager to see if they actually got enough chill hours to come up or not. And then there's some lettuce seedlings that I sowed over here at the end of last year. So you can see. A few different lettuces. And so this bed, I'm just gonna leave it as a hodgepodge probably through the spring, and then maybe organize it a little bit once everything either blooms or comes up a little bit more, so I can really see how much space I'm working with. There are more hollyhocks over on in this bed, and this is the one that is behind that first square bed. This whole area is daffodils, but I think I'm gonna come through and plant green beans on top of them, and then they'll act as a living mulch as the daffodils come up, and the roots will help with water retention. These dry leaves have helped maintain the moisture in the soil, so this isn't dry by any means. And this section of soil actually also has quite a bit of clay in it, so it's been retaining moisture really nicely. But I think getting the green beans in this portion of the soil will also help keep the soil from going compact with how much clay is in this area. I direct seeded some yarrow over there, and I have not really had success with yarrow up until this point, but hopefully it'll come up for me this year, even if it doesn't flower. And then going directly across, those are a bunch of hollyhock volunteers. This whole area looks a little bit worse for the wear at this point. I'll be having help in the garden tomorrow afternoon, so I think we'll make this our project, cleaning up this area. There's some leftover pink banana squash from last fall. I'm gonna let those grow as a forage crop for the bunnies. We have more volunteer hollyhocks here, and all through here, volunteer sweet peas of all things over there, and then that's mallow, and that just kind of grows natively here. But this bed definitely needs to get cleaned up. I think I'm gonna put zinnias here. We're also, yeah, I think we're gonna just work on pulling all these weeds tomorrow, cleaning out this bed, leaving the volunteers, cleaning up those leaves, getting the landscape fabric out of the way, and then maybe digging some in-ground beds. On this upper portion right here, so you can see this runs the full width of the front of the house, which is great. And in the few years that we've lived here, we've managed to clean out this much so far. This was all filled with landscape fabric and landscaping rock, but I would like to fill it with flowers. And so right now we have all those daffodils. And all along here, for this year at least, I'd like to just fill it with zinnias. We have at least 100, I think. And so if I space them anywhere from 4 to 6 inches apart, they should fill this bed and this bed, depending upon the spacing. Right across from this bed, we have this square bed towards the front. And there's daffodils planted here and daffodils planted here. You can actually see some of them coming up. And I direct seeded some beans, but I don't think it's warm enough for them to germinate yet. But I did do that a couple weeks ago. So as soon as I see them germinate, I'm going to be planting beans all over our gardens. So a few months ago, Home Depot had like 200 daffodils in a display case, and the cashier told me I could take them all for free, so that's what I did. Some of them were like the single yellow, just your typical yellow daffodil. So I think that's what I have here, because the way this is coming up, it doesn't look like it's going to be a double flower, and this one has just come up super fast. So I think the single yellow ones are just coming up really fast. But there's another one over there coming up, and a couple more over there coming up. So my plans are to harvest them all, to be 100% honest. So yeah, I have a lot of daffodils here in the front, and I couldn't tell you how many I have in total. I know I have several hundred daffodils throughout the entirety of our garden, combining the ones I have here in the front with the ones in the back. And I really want to harvest them all this year, but even if I don't, the thing I love about daffodils is that they'll come back year after year. So yeah, that's how the garden is growing currently here in 2024, February of 2024. Part of me wishes I had done a January tour. You probably would have seen about the same thing, just more towards the beginning of its growth cycle. And I really look forward to showing you guys how the garden progresses over the spring into the summer and fall. Things are good. Things are great. I really like my new job, and it's been a learning experience. It's helped me grow outside of my comfort zone, which is what I'm all about, right? And I look forward to sharing with you how things continue to progress here in the garden. But yeah, I'll see you soon. And until next time, keep learning and keep growing.